some rain must fall, and you'll get wet as your sorrow calls. Oh, the sun will rise on a brand new morn. You'll be warm and dry and freshly born.
With support from Judith Robert and in the memory of our good friend Tom Kapazinskis, and with additional support from Marshall County Community Foundation and the First Source Bank and David George. From historic downtown Plymouth, Indiana, where the Lincoln Highway and Michigan Road cross the banks of the beautiful Yellow River, it's the Wild Rose Moon Radio Hour. Tonight's show is brought to you as a tribute to the sessile trilliums, most particularly the Trillium cuneatum, known commonly as toadshade. As many of you know, Trillium species belong to the lily family and are rhizomatous herbs with unbranched stems. Morphologically, Trillium plants produce no true leaves or stems above ground. The toadshade grows throughout Indiana woodlands and is known for deep green mottled bracts, which appear as leaves, and produces a glorious maroon-colored flower. Trilliums contain chemical compounds called sapogenins that have been used medicinally through the ages as astringents, coagulants, expectorants, and uterine stimulants. And speaking of birth and flowering, blooming tonight on our plexiglass enclosed stage is the colorful folk singer and radio host, Matt Watroba. Matt refers to himself as a community singer, song leader, and educator, but he's given birth to so much more as a teacher, writer, songwriter, and supporter of folk song traditions. Born in Detroit and raised in our sister city of Plymouth, Michigan, Matt has served in support of the Ark, a well-known music venue in Ann Arbor. He has also served as 20-year host and creator of the radio program Folks Like Us on WDET in Detroit, and has shared the stage with Tom Paxton, Pete Seeger, and Ramblin' Jack Elliott. And tonight, he'll be sharing 4 original and thought-provoking songs on our show. Also on hand tonight, we'll have a few poems from writer-artist-songwriter Luke Wallin, as read by our host, George Schricker. George will also be performing a Wallin-inspired song called Monster. He'll be accompanied by Wild Rose Moon regulars Matt Carter Scutchfield, Howard Gibbs, and Michele Schricker. And now, recorded live from the Wild Rose Moon Performing Arts Center in historic downtown Plymouth, Indiana, where the legendary Reese Theater is soon to enjoy its second lifetime of excitement and inspiration for the benefit of the local and regional community, here is the radical rascal of all things lunar, or lunatic, your radio hour host, George Schricker.
The river goes round, around the bend. The river goes round, round, round till the very end. And when it stops, it starts again. It won't be long till the river goes round. It won't be long till the river goes round and round and round, my friends. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for that lovely introduction, Jacob. And you were reading about trilliums there. Have you seen a trillium?
I have, in fact.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Where was that?
Over by the big hill park, you know?
Yeah?
There's like those trails, you go along them. I saw a cluster of them. It was magnificent.
By the Yellow River there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are incredible plants. They look like camouflage, a little bit like our stage manager, Howard, who often wears camouflage and reminds me it's not camouflage when it's indoors. Is that right? It's woodland print. Right, there you go. So, and our friend John Bahler's here, and I'll be talking to you a little bit later in the show about some exciting stuff you're doing with your students, okay? But most importantly, we have here tonight with us Matt Watroba, and you were raised in our sister city, Plymouth, Michigan.
That's true.
And where do you live now? Do you live in Plymouth?
Not too far from there. I live in a place called Farmington, Michigan, which is just on the outside of Detroit. I lived a little closer to the city now.
Raised, but you were born in Detroit.
Born in Detroit, and always somewhere within 10 30-mile radius.
Right, right. And last night I heard you on our Moonlight program. John did such a nice job interviewing you, and he was talking a little bit about your work with community singing. And I'd just like to hear a little bit more about how uh, how do you get you were talking about your philosophy that has evolved almost from this, and I was wondering if you could share a little of that with the audience.
I would be happy to. You know, the truth is, it wouldn't have happened if not for an interview I did with the great Pete Seeger. When he was 89 years old, I got a chance to sit with him in the Sloop Club, which is right on the Hudson River, right where the Woody Guthrie sailboat sailed, and they did the impossible thing, which is clean up perhaps the dirtiest river in America. They did that in a grassroots way, gathering folks
Right.
in their front yards. And Pete told me on that day that the most important work he ever did in his life was to get people to sing. And I thought that was astonishing, given that Pete's done some pretty great work in his life, you know, marched on Selma, so many things. So I made the decision right then and there, although I've always used sing-alongs in my concerts, that I would devote a good part of my career to going around the country and teaching people in communities how to start informal community sing-arounds in their libraries and their churches and their homes. The idea being that you put a bunch of people in a circle and you just sing until everybody feels better. And they feel better because it actually releases chemicals in your brain that heal you. And if you sing, which is why we do it in the car and in the shower, when we sing by ourselves, it's very effective, but it's proven that when you sing in community, it can triple or even quadruple the benefits of singing.
So would you say that you feel singing is tied to our mental health?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Science certainly backs that up in
That's
lots and
great.
lots of different ways. And so the idea is to get people together just for the sheer joy of singing. And I'm especially interested in folks who don't even think they're good singers. They just love singing. It's not about performing when we have those circles. It's about us getting, here we go. I drive on through the broken gate, past the booth now still and dark, where once the cars were bathed in light spilling over from the park. I flip my keys to Jim or Steve, find my seat and have a beer. But this old house is coming down. They used to play baseball here. The stadium has moved downtown, leaving nothing on the street. They traded in a neighborhood for a corporate box or suite. I know it's good for business. That point has been made clear. But this old house is coming down. They used to play baseball here. On game days, we would stand outside and a line curled round the block. The Gracie's eggs were worth the wait, and I loved the baseball talk. I marvel how the morning hours somehow disappear. But Gracie's place is coming down. They used to serve breakfast here. The new joint's out on exit 5. You don't have to stand in line. They traded conversation for a convenient place to dine. Oh, it's good for business. That point has been made. This old house is coming down to play baseball here. I know we're moving forward, and I guess we probably should. But there's a cost for what we've lost, and things are gone for good. The barber shop near Gracie's was a gathering for guys. Between innings on the radio, they spent hours spinning lies. Ring of smoke, a dirty joke, for over 40 years. Saturdays are not the same. They used to give haircuts here. The new salon stretched on Malt's place was cramped and small. They traded in a gathering place for a cheap cut at the mall. I know it's good for business, that point has been made clear. Saturdays are not the same. They used to play baseball here. And this old house is coming down. They used to play baseball here.
Matt Watroba. Well, we love historic structures here, Matt, because we're in one right
Yes,
now.
that's right.
Over 150 years old here. My great-grandfather's building, actually. He had a shoe store next door.
I did not know that. That's great.
Yeah, so it's a lovely space, and it keeps getting used, you know. It was a vibrant grocery store and jewelry store, and yeah, Howard's in-laws. Sorry, you disappeared in your camouflage for a minute. Anyway, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the Ark, because we were on the board of directors, maybe, and we don't know too much about the Ark down here, and I was hoping you could talk a little bit about, didn't it also form in a house somewhere?
That's true. Right at the corner on Hill Street in Ann Arbor on the University of Michigan campus, there was this big old blue house that was part of it was owned by about 5 different churches, and its first incarnation was there. And they would have concerts on the weekends, and they would have what they called a hootenanny on Wednesday, which was basically just an open mic. And then it switched and moved a little closer to downtown on Main Street, and now it's so it's been in 3 different residences. And now it is they do music usually 6, sometimes 7 nights a week at this listening
Wow.
room. And I know how important listening is to you,
Yes,
George,
yes.
that you want to create a place where people come and really pay attention. And that's what the Ark has a reputation for,
Yeah.
is that when you go and play that place, the audience is, boy, they sing and they listen. And
That's it,
Yeah,
yeah.
and it's
They
just
sing.
great. And I recorded my first record there, actually, put 5 microphones on the audience, and we made a big choir
Wow.
out of them. And I continue to be on their legacy board, so it's sort of like part of my mission is to make sure that they keep their mission in mind, which is to keep traditional arts alive. So it's
Right.
just a really great performing arts space.
And you've done so much of that, keeping traditional arts alive with your own work on the radio.
Yes, I've been on the radio in one form or another probably for the last 30 years. Currently, I'm on a radio show on WKAR on Sunday evenings out of Michigan State Public Radio. And it's so creatively titled Folk with Matt Watroba. I think you'll be able to remember that. And it's a blast. I love having my own repertoire, but to have everybody's repertoire to spin is really
wow.
it's really a lot of fun to do that. So I do special programs for Martin Luther King Day, for Memorial Day, it's just fun to find all these great artists and all these great songs and all these great subjects.
Well, great. We'll kick off another subject for us right now with another
absolutely.
song.
Let's see what I got here for you. This is by far the most popular song I've been singing over the last couple of years. I wrote this fairly recently. I don't know if this has happened to you, but I wrote this song when I realized that half of my Facebook friends unfriended the other half of my Facebook friends. And that's the country we live in these days, isn't it? We just can't seem to see beyond the most simple things and get together. So I wanted to write a song that sort of questioned that whole idea. Could you love me if I don't look like you? Is it deeper? Is it stronger? Something hidden, something true. If I stare a little longer, will I see myself in you? Could you love me if I don't look like you? Could you love me if I don't think like you? Is it deeper? Is it stronger? Something hidden, something true. If I stare a little longer, will I see myself in you? Could you love me if I don't think like you? This life's a burning candle, and it would be a shame if we ignored the difference between the smoke and the flame. Could you love me if I don't pray like you? Is it deeper? Is it stronger? Something hidden, something true. If I stare a little longer, will I see myself in you? Could you love me if I don't pray like you? This moment is a miracle, so why not find a way to be here and be grateful that we share another day? Could you love me if I don't love like you? Is it deeper? Is it stronger? Something hidden, something true. If I stare a little longer, will I find myself in you? Could you love me if I am not like you?
Matt Watroba, everyone. That's just super. Thank you. Matt, we're going to come back and have a couple more songs, and I want to talk to you a little bit more. I want to drill down into that stuff you were talking about last night in our Moonlight program about creativity and how it works in different individuals on different timelines.
I look forward to it.
Okay, good. Well, up next, that'll be me and Matt Scutchfield. We're going to be doing some poems by the poet Luke Wallin, and I'm going to be doing a song with Howard Gibbs and my wife Michele and Matt called Monster that was inspired by him.
With support from Judith Robert and in memory of our friend Tom Kapazinskis, Marshall County Community Foundation, the First Source Bank, David George, and the Friends of the Wild Rose Moon. You're listening to the Wild Rose Moon Radio Hour.
Well, welcome back to the Wild Rose Moon Radio Hour. What a beautiful morning here, and it's so great to have such a great team of individuals to work with. The Moon is just filled with great people helping out and making everything come together, including our music producer, John Bahler. And John, you were telling me you're working with your students on some projects.
Well, I'm working with my students a lot these days. I wear myself out. Hopefully I'm doing good for them.
Yeah, they're writing some original pieces?
Yeah, they just finished up writing, well, I say they finished up. A lot of them haven't started yet. But they
it's
were
like
writing...
me on the script.
Yeah, they were writing personal stories about their own experience. We'd read a few stories to kind of prepare for it, but one of them was about a young man. He's a journalist, Nicholas Gage. Not to be confused with the actor. Gage is the name with two G's. And his family fled from Greece when communist revolutionaries were stirring up a lot of trouble, and they executed his mother and one of his sisters. but he survived, and so did a number of his siblings and his father. Well, he got in school and worked with this English teacher and newspaper teacher, and she didn't know the full details, but she sort of knew what she was asking when she assigned a similar project, and she said, "I want you to write about what happened to your family in Greece." And like I said, she didn't know the details, but she knew that she was telling him, "I want you to write about the one thing in life that you don't want to write about."
And so that's what you had your
And-
students do.
That's what I asked them to do, yeah.
How great is that? That is a great thing.
And of course, I let them know if you don't have anything bad in your life or you don't want to write about it, then I kind of set up some other options. But so much of writing and so much of art is understanding things, trying to understand things that we can't understand. And painful experiences are really important things that are hard to understand. But we need to try. We need to try to face those things.
Well, that's true. And I think John deserves a nice hand for teaching our students. I think the world of teachers, I was raised by one. And speaking of extraordinary educators and teachers, I've been educated here at the Moon with the presence of Matt Carter Scutchfield. He has taught me so much about so many things in such a short amount of time that I'm having a hard time keeping up, but I'm doing my best. And one of the wonderful instruments that he's introduced to us here is something called the Theremin. And I first heard this theremin, I believe, in the film. There's an old film directed by Robert Wise called The Day the Earth Stood Still. And it was such a marvelous film. And I heard in the beginning this sound, and I thought, that's so unusual. And it turns out to be a theremin. Matt doesn't have a mic, and he can't give us the whole story about the theremin, which I'm sure would be voluminous. But regardless, he can play it for us. And we're going to do one of Luke Wallin's poems. I'll talk about Luke in just a minute. But this is Omwawa. And Omwawa, just for your reference, is the meteorite recently that came through our solar system. It kind of visited us. And it was considered to be an interstellar meteorite traveling over, many, many miles. And so that was the inspiration for this. And most of these poems, almost all three of these poems, are really sort of Luke's meditations on aging to some degree. So you'll see what I'm talking about at the moment. Om Wawa. I was abducted to the ship Om Wawa. This is what they said. You were selected because of your experience. What experience? I asked. Hitchhiking. We thought you knew. Perhaps you could remind me. You were a college student, 1961. Your Baptist college was 3 hours from home. You got a ride in a white Cadillac with a Rebel Yell whiskey logo on the door. The salesman showed you how he could turn it around so it couldn't be seen. He thought this funny, showing it was against the law. Do you remember that? I do. There was a couple who picked you up, very country, quiet, and threatening. They pulled over and started a conversation between themselves. Do you want some action, boy? A grin. Maybe, she said. We'll have to see. Then she returned to the back seat and said, we might let you live. Do you remember that? Yes, I do. Do you remember standing on the side of the road in Montana Prairie, holding out your thumb for 2 long days, catching a ride in a pickup truck, sliding your rifle rolled in a blanket behind the seat, you and your buddy winking together? Yes. Do you remember a ride with a professor when you were a freshman and she became your lover? Yes, it was cold that day. The aliens looked at each other and buzzed. This went on for hours, and I remembered rides I had forgotten. Why did they care so much to explain my selection for abduction? Omwawa was a nice ride. We're going to move to the banjo, I think. Okay. I first met Luke Wallin in my master's program at a university called Spalding University down in Louisville, Kentucky. And he was my very first mentor of, I was working on a children's novel at the time. And he was so interesting and lovely. He'd grown up in Alabama, and he'd worked on his father's sawmill, and grew up kind of hunting and really knowing the backwoods. And his stories were just fascinating to me. And so he was great to work with, and we maintained a friendship. And a little later I'll tell you about the story. But he has 8 different children's novels, young adult novels. And they're all very nature-oriented and nature-bound, about hunting and those kinds of things. And they're really interesting. I urge you to look them up. This is a poem he's reflecting on getting older again. And it's called Our Greedy Pig. And this is sort of a self-ridicule in some ways. Our greedy pig wants more from life, more from friends, and more from his wife. He's old and sleeps while others work, watches telly, what a shirk. Posts his pictures, pawn Facebook, wants a like, deserves a hook. He'll give advice, though loud and flushed. Got the dump, but he won't be rushed. He roams about, says, trees relax. Sports radio shouts, then he grinds his axe. He's got time now, reviews his friends, his kids and wives, losses and wins. Does he deserve his nice barnyard, his loyal few as the steps come hard? It might be time to gravely dig, yet he wants more, our greedy pig. As I mentioned, go ahead. As I mentioned, Luke's work has ranged a great deal. He's also a painter and an artist, and he sends me his visual work all the time. It's just stunning. And so he has a background in teaching at the School of Visual Arts in Manhattan, the University College in Dublin, the University of Massachusetts, Dartmouth, and Spalding University. And he has a wonderful book called Conservation Writing, Essays at the Crossroads of Nature and Culture. And that's a lovely book, and I urge you to go out and read that and see that. We're going to do his last poem now, and this I can relate to, and I don't know, any of you are of the age where joints are maybe not working quite like they used to, and sometimes even hands aren't working like they used to. And so this is a poem, as soon as I find it here, called My Good Right Hand. My good right hand, for those of you who have aches and pains. My good right hand has rolled the logs, tossed the boards, and climbed the tower. My good right hand has played guitar night after night in sadness and ecstasy. My good right hand has written books at the kitchen table and poems lying in bed. and now it does not wish to be touched. It does not wish to be raised in the air. It will behave under gloves with distractions, but naked, it draws the wrong kind of attention, awareness of its strange distress. My good right hand has pulled the trigger, hoisted the buck into the tree. My good right hand has planted a garden and picked the apples high in the sun. It's carried the briefcase and the child and canvas water bags up the mountain. It's locked and unlocked a lover's door, painted canvases up to the ceiling. My good right hand knows archery and tennis and a sailboat's tiller after midnight. Now, one day, it's a cream for pain, and the next, one for arthritis. My good right hand, I'm talking to you. Listen to me. I'm talking to you. Oh, yeah. So in my last semester of my MFA at Spalding, and Spalding was a brief residency program. You go there for a short time, about 10 days, and meet mentors, and then they work with you on your writing. And you have a lot of writing due. You're expected to write like 250 pages every semester of original pages. And it's really quite a lovely program, and you meet all sorts of great people. And I was, before I got to my last semester, Luke, who I was no longer working with as a mentor, but just had become friends with me, sent me a draft of his story called Monster. And you can hear that story, Monster, online. He reads that with me in a piece that we put up, and you can hear the actual story this is based on. But I found the story so inspiring that I wanted to write a song about it. And so I quickly wrote some lyrics and then took them to Luke, and Luke sort of addressed issues in the story, and basically Luke enriched the story by making it much more ironic. And I like the song so much, and it was a great collaboration. So here it is, and we're doing it with Howard Gibbs, Michele Schricker, and Matt Scutchfield on bass. The devil walks at midnight, and he leaves the deepest tracks. And when the moon is rising, oh, shadows at his back. His eyes are golden searchlights, his teeth as white as pearls, and his emerald skin goes glistening in his hunt for boys and girls. Somewhere in the darkness, somewhere down below, somewhere neath the surface, that's where the bodies go. 100 headless hound dogs are roaming through the streets, searching for the creature that puts this world to sleep. In the swamp beyond the river, they've heard that awful roar, and the sulfur smell is rising, the monster crying more. Somewhere in the darkness, somewhere down below, somewhere beneath the surface, that's where bodies go. High above the action, in a tall oak tree, I wait with bullets wanting to set this creature free. I summon up my courage to overcome my fear. My will cannot be wasted. The monster's coming near. Somewhere in the darkness, somewhere down below, somewhere beneath the surface, that's where bodies go. Well, if my God is willing, and if my Bible serves, make my finger steady, Spirit, fill my nerve. If my luck comes calling at my moment of resolve, my fading truth will crumble, no riddle will be solved. Somewhere in the darkness, somewhere down below, somewhere beneath the surface, that's I've told my story. It's proof that I hung tough. I overcame the devil, just not near enough. The devil goes on living down in his earthbound hole. He still comes up a-creeping from somewhere in my soul. Somewhere in the darkness, somewhere down below, somewhere beneath the surface, that's where the bodies go. That's where the bodies go. So that's a song by Luke Wallin and 3 poems by him. And thanks to Matt Carter Scutchfield, and thanks to John Bahler for helping out with that harmony too, and my wife, and Howard, and we're gonna turn this over to John here.
With support from Judith Robert, and in memory of our friend Tom Kapazinskis, Nancy and Dan Schmelter, David George, Marshall County Community Foundation, Marshall County Tourism, and the Friends of the Wild Rose Moon, you're listening to the Wild Rose Moon Radio Hour.
Well, welcome back to the Wild Rose Moon Radio Hour. We're here with Matt Watroba from Michigan. Lived most of his life up there near Detroit and Ann Arbor, and done such a lot of great community work. And you were talking on the program about creativity. And I loved what you had to say. I don't know if you can get that back, but you were talking about the creative process as it works in individuals at different rates of speed. You've seen that as an educator, right?
I have. In fact, what a lot of us have in common is I taught high school for 12 years, taught English high school and creative writing and a whole bunch of stuff to kids as well. And one of the things I did notice is that there's just not one approach that works for every person. I was talking last night how I tend to write songs based on ideas first. You know, once I sort of get the frame of the jigsaw puzzle, that's when I know it's going to be a song, you know. But I think the biggest, and I didn't say this last night, but I think the biggest challenge to anyone doing anything creatively is to get out of your own way. You know, somehow you need to kick the editor out while you're in the process of writing,
right,
and bring the editor back later. I think the editor in your mind, first of all, how many people can you have in that head? You know, you've got one that's doing the creating.
Some of us have more than others.
That's right, we do. And so to me, it's like, how do you get rid of all those other voices, those naysayers that try to correct everything you do on the fly, where what you need to do is just write or just do whatever your creativity, and then go back and do that second part of the process with a different part of your brain.
Right. That's great. Well, let's use that part of your brain that puts words and music together and makes songs of them, would you?
Sure, and a quick story behind this song, because I wrote this song about a songwriter hero of mine, one of the greatest songwriters that ever lived. We lost him, boy, a long time ago now. But a Texan by the name of Townes Van Zandt wrote so many great, great songs, including Pancho and Lefty and If I Needed You. And Townes was an amazingly creative guy, but he was so out there. He was addicted to about 1 million things, and he lived a really, really tough life, but was a beautiful soul. I got a chance to interview him not once but twice on my radio program. And I was reading a biography about him called To Live Is to Fly, which is one of his great songs. And I finished reading the biography at about 3 in the morning, and I shut the book. And I don't know if this has happened to any of my fellow musicians in here. I shut the book, I put it on the nightstand, and in the morning I woke up with a whole couple lines of poetry that I thought were a poem, actually. And it said, "Some say it was just booze or some wild, untamed muse that lifted you up from..." Some say it was just booze or some wild, untamed muse that lifted you up from this world. And I thought to myself, Townes wrote this great song called the Tower Song. I learned that his favorite flower was the wild morning glory, which is a weed, actually, which fits his personality perfectly. And it also blooms in the morning and dies at night. And I thought, what a beautiful metaphor for this creative man. So I wrote this song called Wild Morning Glory, based on that little bit of idea I had in the morning. So it starts with just a little snippet of his song called the Tower Song. It goes like this. And I'm going to ask Matt to do a little bass on this song as well. You built your tower strong and tall. Can't you see it's got to fall one day? Sing us a story, you wild morning glory, reach down into places unseen. What others call shadow is merely the mad flow of the people and places you've been. Your life was a gamble, a perpetual ramble, you tamed with the beauty of rhyme. You walked the tightrope, and just when you'd lose hope, then out of the dark hole you'd climb. Dig at the details, the devil goes deeper. He wakes when you're looking away. He visits you when you've lost one more weekend, just keeping the demons at bay. Your dreams would combat you, the darkness clawed at you. You fought back with codeine and words. What made you fragile, likewise made you agile. Your bones, they were hollow like birds. Your songs inspire the broken down choir who lost all desire to sing. We learned it made good sense to lower our defense and toss it all into the ring. To dig at the details, the devil goes deeper. He wakes when you're looking away. He visits you when you've lost one more detail, just keeping the demons at bay. Some say it was just booze or some wild untamed muse or one more image unfurled. Now I may be wrong, but I'd say it's a song that lifted you up from this world. So sing us a story, you wild morning glory. You went unarmed to the fray. You built the tower, and just like the flower, you bloomed and were gone in a day. Dig at the details, the devil goes deeper. He wakes when you're looking away. He visits you when you've lost one more weekend, just keeping the demons at bay.
Matt Watroba. What a beautiful song. A tribute to a hero of yours.
What's that?
A tribute to a hero of yours.
Absolutely. I find I write a lot of songs about heroes of mine, you know, and here we had two kind of devil songs in a row, George. I don't know.
I heard that. I heard that. I thought that was nice.
I got a little nice transition.
We
there.
didn't even plan.
But yeah,
it.
I did a whole album of original songs called Shine Right Through the Dark. And as I started to look through the titles and the subjects, it's like there's song for my dad and for Martin Luther King and for Pete Seeger. It's like I do, as I mentioned last night in Moonlight, I really do believe that this kind of music is unique and that it really does stand on the shoulders of the people who came before us. You know, we get to learn from those folks, and teaching young kids about those people will inspire them as well.
Oh, I think so.
Yep.
And I want to go back to this community singing for just a minute. And let's say you were going to come here and lead a community sing.
I accept.
Oh. Sounds like a great idea. So, how would you go about that? Being the leader of a community sing, we'd put a call out, or how would we?
Yeah, one way I do that with venues like this. There's not too many venues like this. I wish there were more. It's fun sometimes to do a community sing in the afternoon. So I wouldn't be on stage, but we would set the room up in some way where we were all looking at each other.
In a circle.
In a circle or whatever. Sometimes it has to be a square.
Yeah.
But there's no focus, no central focus, because what makes community singing different than what I'm doing right now or a concert is that it's not about me, it's about us, and it's about the act of singing. So as all teachers know, you can't really teach anything until you've created a safe environment. And there have been some people who have been traumatized by folks telling them not to sing in their lives. People who didn't have confidence and were told just mouth the words honey. Right? I bet you there's people here tonight that were told that at some point. But I've had people come up to me sometimes after 2, 3, 4 months of community singing with them and just thanking me for the fact that I allowed them to do something they thought they weren't allowed to do anymore.
Oh,
and to me that opens up a whole life.
We need more and more spaces like that.
Right. So we'd have this community sing during the day, and then then the nice thing is then have a concert that night.
Oh.
Invite as many people back who already know a lot of the songs, and all of a sudden you can bring the whole thing into a concert where I do a combination of sing-alongs and my own songs.
Well, we have a little bit of an audience. We're lucky. We're kind of beginning to swell back up, and you don't have to do a whole song, but could you demonstrate like a little call and response for us about with a song,
sure.
and on something that is hopefully in public domain and an old
yeah
song?
most of these kinds of songs I do are in public domain. So let's I'll do a very quick another one of those. So many of these songs began as spirituals, right, and then they were adapted for the Underground Railroad, and they were adapted for all different reasons. But this is an example of one of those songs that was adapted, and some of you may know it. And if you do, let's sing together. I'm going to sit at the welcome table. I'm going to sit at the welcome table one of these days. Hallelujah. I'm going to sit at the welcome table. I'm going to sit at the welcome table one of these days. Try it with me. I'm going to sit at the welcome table. Oh, I'm going to sit at the welcome table one of these. Hallelujah. I'm going to sit at the welcome table. I'm going to sit at the welcome table one of these days. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. Oh, this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. You guys sing that one, I'll sing a different one. This little light, sing it loud. I'm gonna sit at the welcome table one of these. Hallelujah. I'm gonna sit at the welcome table. I'm gonna sit at the welcome table one of these days. You get it? Let's do that. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Sing it one more time. Watch me. Let it shine. let it shine, let it shine.
Yes, sirree. That is terrific.
I feel better already. I don't know about you guys.
Oh,
but,
yeah. I feel good. I feel good. Well, I know you've worked up there with our friend David Tamulevich and Libby and David and all those people up there in a songwriters writing group, right?
Yeah, we call ourselves the Yellow Room Gang, and it involves everybody in that group are all experienced performers, so it's a pretty high-level songwriting group. I was probably the one that had the least experience, because I mentioned last night, I didn't really start writing songs till I was in my 40s, so it really was nice to come into this group of friends. We bring the newest song we're working on. Each of us get a chance to play, and we spend about 15, 20 minutes sort of making suggestions, talking about every syllable, every word, every vowel. Of course, we throw ice cream in there too, just to sort of soften the blow. But it's really it's helped me in so many ways in that sort of collaborative process with a songwriting group. And I'm sure as a writer, you've probably writer workshops and groups as well, where you critique each other.
I have. They're not always easy to be in because
no.
you get critiqued pretty hard, and you have to develop some thick skin.
That's right.
And realize that we're all on the road together.
That's
and,
right.
We all need each other.
And we all want to be, we all want the piece to be as successful as it can
right,
be.
Right.
I taught high school for 10 years. I sang in bars for 10 years. I raised 4 children. I don't take things personally anymore. So bring it on. I want to find out what I can do to make these songs.
Well, that's great. Well, speaking of bringing it on, bring on another song for us.
All right, this time I'm going to ask John to join me and Matt as well on bass, and we'll sing this song. I did an entire record of songs about my love of old-time country music. And I love the old stuff, Hank Williams, Hank Thompson, everybody named Hank, basically. I like that stuff. But I got to the end of the record, and there was one style I hadn't done yet, which was the great bluegrass sort of quartet sound. And I'm not a quartet, so you guys are going to have to help me out once you hear some of these words and how they repeat. Now that I know you can sing, you can join me on this as well. It's a song I wrote with my grandmother in mind. I was at her funeral, about 10 years before I wrote the song. And I looked out at the folks, I was singing at the funeral, and I looked out at the folks and I just saw her love in every single one of the people in that room. And I thought, no matter what your religious belief is, if you want to live forever, one definition of eternal life is to love as much as you can while you're alive, and your love will live on and on and on. So that's sort of the idea behind this song. I'll build from the lessons I learned in my youth. How will I lead and open my eyes and my heart to the truth? That's how I'll leave this earth. How will I leave? How will I leave this earth? When it comes my time to go, how will they measure my worth? I will live on, and those that I touched while I lived, in this journey of life from my death to my birth, that's how I'll leave this earth. It's choice and not chance that has brought me along. How will I leave and open my eyes to them and be wrong? That's how I'll leave this earth. How will I leave? How will I leave this earth? When it comes my time to go, how will they measure my worth? I will live on, and those that I touched while I lived, in this journey of life from my death to my birth, that's how I'll leave this earth. Some say we'll live on up in heaven above. How will I leave? I will live on through the ones that I love. That's how I'll leave this earth. How will I leave? How will I leave this earth? When it comes my time to go, how will they measure my worth? I will live on, and those that I touched while I lived, in this journey of life from my death to my birth. That's how I'll leave this earth. In this journey of life from my death to my birth. That's how I'll leave this earth. Thank you very
What
much.
a beautiful song. What a beautiful song. Just remarkable. And I think it, it's sort of a song that moves directly out of all your life's experiences, which is so enriching for us. I can't tell you how moved I was last night just to hear you talk on our program Moonlight, and
Thanks.
especially just describing all your various endeavors. It's just been tremendous having you, Matt Watroba. Let's give
Thank you,
another
George.
nice hand.
What a
to
great
Matt.
place.
And I enjoyed meeting your wife, Kim. And she's a warm and wonderful person too. And you both grew up together in Plymouth, Michigan, our sister city, right?
We met in 9th grade English class, and so
Boy, that English thing is just
I know.
going right through us. Anyway,
That's right.
Well, thanks. I hope you will come back and maybe lead some community singing. Don't you think that would be
happy
great?
to do it.
So now we're gonna. And I was wondering if you could join us singing along. If you want to rip those off of there if they're too far away.
I was doing it in my head the first time. So
Okay,
we'll
let's
do it
just
out loud.
join right in with us on the theme song. But so take us out, will you?
With support from Judith Robert, and in the memory of our good friend Tom Kapazinskis, David George, and with additional support from Marshall County Community Foundation and the First Source Bank, you've been listening to the Wild Rose Moon Radio Hour.
Well, thank you, Jacob Moreno, and thanks to Matt Watroba for sharing his beautiful vision of singing our way into a loving and creative world. Thanks also to songwriter and writer and artist Luke Wallin for allowing us to share his poems. Thanks to John Bahler for his fine accompaniments on Matt Watroba's song, and Matt Carter's working with Matt Carter, Scutchfield, Howard Gibbs, and Michele Schricker for our accompaniment on Monster. Thanks also to the talented Ryan Mear for switching our cameras, Nate Butler for mixing and producing our shows. Thanks to Matthew Bergmoser, our photographer, Howard Gibbs, our stage manager, Marcia Heitzberger and Jennifer Reed, our sparkling hospitality team, and Michele Schricker for her undying support of the Moon and its mission and me. And also, finally, a special big thanks to Jim Yocom, who is presently turning our sound stages into 3 and 4 camera production studios. We love you, Gene Pazderka. And John, is your guitar charged up with the magic of Trillium juice?
I've been charging it all night long. So when you think
Oh, yeah.
you lost that life, oh, pain and heartache fill your soul with strife. Just remember, as you're tumbling down,
when you're tumbling down,
it won't be long
not at all.
till the river goes round.
Everybody, river
River
goes
round, around the bend.
The river goes
round, round, round till the very end. And when it stops, it starts again. It won't be long till the river goes round.
One more time.
The river goes round, round the bend. The river goes round, round, round till the very end. And when it stops, it starts again. It won't
won't be long till the river goes round. It won't be long till the river goes round and round and round, my friend.